Are there any tips for teaching kids selflessness and not always think about themselves? Yes, you see, these are very practical questions, so I'm sure it applies to all of us. And these are the things which actually matter to you in your everyday life. See, how do you give this training to your children at home? The training of selflessness, whatever we are talking about. See, on an everyday basis, can you help your child perform at least one act of service to somebody without any demands, without any tags behind it? Can you help your kid do that? I have seen a number of our devotees do it. Like when the child is offered breakfast, something of that, or whatever is packed in his lunch box, something of that has to be shared with somebody, with his whatever classmate or whoever. So do you give this message to your children every day? Every day one act. You know, when I was in school, I studied in a convent, and we had this common practice. We had to keep a diary in which we had to write what we did for others. At least one act of service we had to write every day, what selfless act you did for others. So suppose on some day you did not do, then you would have to do it and then write it. So then it becomes a habit. Life is one of selfless service alone, because you don't know how much you are taking from life. It's entirely an exchange, isn't it? The very air you breathe, the water that you drink, it's all coming from somewhere else. Did you manufacture the air? Did you manufacture the water? The food, the simple food that comes in front of you every day? How many people have worked for it? Are you thankful and grateful for that? No, you never acknowledge it. So these ways should change. For that, you must bring it into your homes. Every day, make your child perform one act of service, and he will learn selflessness by himself. He will know that that is the way of life. When lunch comes before the child, make sure he offers a prayer of thankfulness, gratefulness before he starts eating. Then tomorrow you will not have to tell him, "Arey, you must be more unselfish, you must learn to honor and respect others." You won't have to teach him all that. If today you put these foundation stones of habit, make him feel grateful, kind, prayerful for every little thing that comes into his house. When we were children, any new object you got, you had to place it before God first. Thank him for it. And through him, you bring it into your life. So these practices are very helpful in developing a beautiful mindset of kindness, gratefulness, and naturally selflessness will develop. These things are lacking in modern life. This is something which really pains us. A lot of today's youngsters spend their time on television or internet, and constant influx of violent messages and all kinds of pictures. So this is a very poor way of living life. And how can you expect great values? So bring these small things into their lives deliberately, especially when children, the younger the better, because they are very sensitive at that age, and your love can transform anything in the child's life. So with love, if you bring in all these small habits, it makes a huge difference. We even used to teach hostel children, when you get up in the morning, first bow down to some deity, some saint, somebody, so that you learn the value of respecting. And when you bow down to real greatness, you will know how not to bow down to cheapness. You don't have to teach them that naturally they will learn. When they learn to respect value, they will keep away from that which has no value by themselves. So these are the ways you inculcate sanskars. There's a lot we can talk about this, but there are many questions, so let me restrict myself to this. The second question is, are emotions like anger, etc. meant to be controlled? Of course. Should this be a question? If you don't control these emotions, they will control you and your very behavior. And of course, then that the repercussions will come from the outside world. All of these negative emotions are to be controlled. That's the whole challenge. Not just controlled, finally purged, eradicated, if you want to really become a great divine personality. Otherwise, you try to just manipulate them, and that won't work. Especially in your workplace, you will see it will not work at all. The purer the mind, the more it is capable of. So make all this very clear to your mind right now. Mataji, there are many ways of meditation. Which one do you recommend? I recommend that meditation which brings you to a point of stillness within yourself. You will see your intelligence will catch fire once you reach that point of stillness. You will become super intelligent by yourself. So that meditation which brings you to that point of stillness is very important. It will help you grasp all of this by yourself. I have introduced 2 meditations on YouTube. You can please see them. One is a small 5-minute meditation, which I think is on Vivek Vani channel. It has been taken from the IIT videos. So you can take it, practice that. It's just 5 minutes. And there's a longer one, 15 to 20 minute meditation on Yog Vedant, which is there on Eternal Truth also. So please do these meditations on a regular basis. You will come to that point of stillness. Mataji, I get very anxious before my exams. How do I manage that to stay calm? So there are ways to manage this. I think you should watch the video Essentials of Mind Management, where 6 steps have been provided to calm down the mind. Essentials of Mind Management. It's on Eternal Truth also. So please watch this. You start by regulating your breathing. Then you must generate deep inner calmness and the ability to replace thoughts so that the stress goes. So all this step by step, it's a guideline how to manage mind. And the most essential thing is, you see, this tendency to procrastinate and not do your work on time, that builds up your stress before exams. So be studious and be sincere, honest in your work. Today, if you are a good student, an honest student, tomorrow you will be good at whatever you do. Today only if you learn to compromise, then tomorrow you never know where your life will go. You must be very particular. Youth is the time to build life. Today the foundation stones you lay, your whole life gets created on that. And the younger you are, the better. The training should start at the age of 3-4 actually. But anyway, whatever age you are, please start it as soon as possible. Mind management is the essential thing. Are there any introductory texts which one should read before reading Upanishads? Yes, this is an important question. You see, it is important to read some of these auxiliary scriptures, what are called Prakarana Granthas, in order to grasp the spirit of the Upanishads. So there are many such Prakarana Granthas by Shankaracharya. You'll find like all this Drigdrishya Vivek, Vivek Chudamani, Aparokshanubhuti, Atma Bodh, Tattva Bodh, all these are introductory texts to Vedanta. It is very important to take up a few of these, dwell upon them, and then enter into the Upanishads. That is why in the past I covered Atma Bodh. Those lectures also I think are on YouTube on a channel called Nanak M. So you can go through some of them. It is important to start with an introductory text like this because it will give you the essence of self-knowledge quickly. And most of it, especially those Prakarana Granthas which have been written by Shankaracharya, they are very good introductions to the spirit of the Upanishads. I think you should go through Atmabodh and Vivek Chudamani and Drigdrishya Vivek also. Today you find a whole lot of videos also on all this, so it makes it easy. Please do go through these introductory texts, and then you will see these are the original mantras. They will make a lot of sense. Mataji, what are your suggestions on type of food one should eat? Very practical question. I think you should see the video Triguna theory, which has been recently released. We have released fundamentals of yoga psychology in 5 videos. It's all on eternal truth. You should go through it. The type of food you eat affects your mind. Okay, there's no question about this. You have to take care of the kind of food you eat. Now, what do we mean by sattvic food then? Which is the type of food which we should eat? You see, that food which is easily digests, which stays in your alimentary canal for the shortest period of time, so that you feel light after eating it, you feel good, you don't feel heavy and sluggish. That type of food obviously you should eat. Now, if you are a young muscular man who has a lot of physical work to do, maybe you can take more of protein, more of that kind of food which helps you build your muscles, because your work, maybe you're a sportsman, work can be of that kind. But for people who usually are doing yoga and all this, and students, sattvic food is best, which means a whole lot of food which has high water content, vegetables and fruits, of course dal, pulses, and carbohydrate. Take such a meal that you feel light after that, not too oily stuff and pickles and all that. No, that's all tamasic. Take that kind of food which will easily digest. Then you call it sattvic food, because you know what happens for people who lead an intense spiritual life. Let me cover only this point, because most of you are like that, I can understand. For sadhaks, what happens is you are maintaining your prana at a particular level. That's the whole point. Now, if you have to maintain it at the heart, if your mind is preoccupied with your stomach, with the process of digestion, you know, your prana gets disturbed. For that, you must put everything at rest, including the stomach, as quickly as possible. So after a meal, if you have your meal in such a way that the food is digested within an hour or 1.5 hours, or even shorter than that, then you feel fresh all the time. You will never feel sluggish and lazy and stupor. All this will not be there. You always feel fresh. Your vitality is simply blooming, you can say. So you must ensure that through your food. I have seen a whole lot of sadhaks being very particular about this, and this really works. Just giving in to rajasic food just for the sake of taste and all that. Study it and see. In the first class I told you there are levels of happiness. Which level you commit yourself to will decide the quality of your life. Then how do we get right vidya? So here I don't know exactly by vidya. If you are meaning knowledge, then you see today's your education, no matter what you are studying or what you have studied, it will give you all vidya about the external world, nothing about yourself, isn't it? Have you ever studied, maybe in class 2 or 3 you studied, you had 2 eyes and 2 ears. Anything other than that about yourself have you studied, I am asking you? You haven't. When people ask me, what is prana? Is there pranic energy within me? I really feel how insensitive we have become. It's like asking, is there awareness within me? So all this has happened because we have lost touch with our own being. We have never studied anything about ourselves, and we are experts at many other things about the external world. So the whole point is to get this Vidya, to know yourself more completely and fully, you must turn a little to spiritual wisdom. This is the kind of Vidya, that is why we are introducing so many important videos on YouTube and all these channels, for the simple reason there is so much of hunger. Even today's universities are asking for it. That it is so very important to focus on the self, so very important to focus on what the human being ultimately is, on mind management and such issues, rather than just manipulating the external world for our purposes. And what are those purposes? Mainly it is pleasure of the senses. So it is right Vidya. When you use the word right Vidya, hopefully I mean spiritual knowledge you are meaning. So for that you have to turn to a little spiritual knowledge. That is why we are bringing all this in. You can keep in touch through books, you can keep in touch through these videos, but bring some amount of this knowledge into your lives. This is very important. Then Mataji, I need your holiness and blessing. So this is not a question. I need holiness. That's a beautiful idea. What you actually need is that you want the inspiration to come from within yourself. This is what everyone should actually need, isn't it? See, if you say, I need your holiness, what do I make of it? Whatever you are finding inspiring in me or in this class, try to awaken it within yourself. You perfectly have the power to do it, because I tell you, you are the self manifesting through this body-mind complex. Instead of paying just attention to this body and mind, go deeper into yourself. Go into your own conscious awareness. Deepen it through any technique, and you will understand that there is so much you can do with your equipment. So you see, what exactly we mean by holiness or purity is this: the ability to touch your essence. When that happens, the mind becomes very clear, the very brain becomes very clear, and the body also becomes bright. So it is important to see, don't take this as, well, somebody told me so I have to do it. This is the way a life becomes a complete life. The human life reaches its fulfillment. Until then, you will understand, until you actually take up yoga as a practice, you will understand you were a contracted something which was deeply in pain. When you take up the practice of all this, spiritual practice, you will see you have blossomed into something far bigger than you could have imagined. So, इसीलिए sadhana, spiritual practice, is the way to generate these inspirations from within yourself. Please stick to that, and then all our study will make a lot of sense to you.